Years in Columbus radio and TV, and I cannot remember one single event since 1951 that has been as devastating to the entire community as the passing of Woody Hayes. The former Ohio State football coach who led the Buckeyes to a pair of Big Ten crowns, to a pair of national titles rather, and 13 Big Ten crowns or co-championships in 28 years, died in his sleep early this morning. Woody had celebrated his 74th birthday less than a month ago. Throughout the day, presidents, vice presidents, former presidents, coaches, athletic directors, businessmen, fans, friends, and former players have been sharing their thoughts about Wayne Woodrow Hayes.
Much of what I do and what I am and what I believe in, I got from him. And, you know, having the unique experience of playing for him and then coaching for him for 6 years and then competing against him for a decade. Our relationship is probably, you know, different than most of the people that he's coached.
Columbus, Ohio is poor today. This morning, Wayne Woodrow Hayes died at the age of 74. I'm Dave Kaler, and I'd like to have you join me as WBNS-TV looks back at Woody's life and accomplishments. Woody Hayes was an intricate man with many different interests and talents, but most of all, he'll be remembered for being a football coach. Honor of Dotting the I in the incomparable Script, Ohio, the trademark of the Ohio State University Marching Band.
Perhaps the greatest honor came when he addressed the 1986 graduating class at the Ohio State University winter commencement.
Graduates, Mr. President, faculty members, friends, and families of the graduates who have done so much and sacrificed so much to make this possible. Today is the greatest day of my life, and Mr. President, you've certainly helped to make it that way. I appreciate it so much to get to come here and talk to a graduating class at the Ohio State University, the great, great university that you and I have. And if I don't do a good job today, it'll be because I clutched. And you don't very often do that in a contest. But I am so grateful and so appreciative to be here today. I can't just tell you how much. I would like to start out with something that I use in almost every speech, and that is paying forward. Paying forward, and that is the thing that you folks with your great education from here can do for the rest of your life. I was so happy the other day when I saw in the paper about Jim Lachey, who played here a year ago and comes back after 1 year of professional football to give a gift to the university in 6 figures, in 6 figures. And what he said was, I received a great education here, and I got to play great football under Coach Bruce and under a great football system here. And he said, I want to help some other youngster to do the same thing. And if you take that attitude toward life, that you're going to pay forward, because so seldom can we pay back, because those whom you owe, your parents and those people, will be gone. But you do want to pay. Emerson had something to say about that. He said you can pay back only seldom. But he said you can always pay forward, and you must pay line for line, deed for deed, and cent for cent. He said, beware of too much good accumulating in your palm, or it will fast corrupt. That was Emerson's attitude, and no one put it better than he did.
As far as his education was concerned. And we all say here, when we hear Woody speak, he holds his audiences spellbound, you know, they just cling for every word, that we're hearing his father speak again. And if there is such a thing as immortality, I think it's carried on in Woody from his father.
Woody practically worshipped his older brother Ike, also a gifted athlete. Ike attended Iowa State and achieved All-American honors in football. Woody's sister Mary became a vaudeville actress, successfully working alongside George Jessel in several plays. Woody was the youngest, and he chose to attend college at Denison University in Granville, Ohio.
Woodrow Hayes was born in Clifton, Ohio. That's a tiny village in Clark County. But he, along with his brother Ike and sister Mary, grew up in Newcomers Town, where their most famous neighbor was the great baseball pitcher, Cy Young.
He always called me Woodrow. He made you feel grown up. And he would talk to me. Any question I had, he'd answer it. Yeah. He always smoked that doggone corncob pipe. Always did. I've always been a hero worshiper, and he was my first hero. He was the first one. Actually, my brother and I, when we were in high school, used to box out there because they'd have big parties for the Elks Club and for the American Legion. My brother and I'd box for that out on his farm.
Of those early years, what he remembers most was a close-knit family and a high regard for learning.
When I was a kid, there was only one thing in our home was important, and that was education. That's all. We sacrificed everything for that. My dad nor mother had either gone to high school. There was no high school in the county. But my dad graduated from college, and when he went to high school, he went there as a principal. That's the first time he was ever there. And from that time on, we were going to get an education.
Woody graduated from Denison University in 1935 and began coaching football so he could afford to attend law school. But 5 months before Pearl Harbor, he felt the call of the military and enlisted in the Navy, where he moved up the ranks to the command of a destroyer escort, the USS Reinhardt. After 5 years in the Navy, he was 33 years old and decided to forego law school, a decision he says he never regretted.
Well, not really. No, I enjoyed coaching. I truly enjoyed it. Well, I'd like to have gotten into a courtroom. Some of these lawyers I read about today, I'd like to have gotten in opposite them.
Really?
Like very much. Oh, yes. Oh, I love to compete. Sure. That's the basis of life.
After the war, his springboard to the big time came from his successful coaching tour at Miami of Ohio. He went from the cradle of coaches to the graveyard of coaches, Ohio State, in 1951. The football program there was in shambles. When he arrived, he was faced by a hostile student body, a hostile press, and a nervous administration. A coach with a lesser ego may have folded, but a challenge always inspired Woody, and he accepted this one with the zeal of an evangelist. In his 4th season, he produced a national championship team, but his skyrocketing fame and fortune earned him more than a few critics on campus. Jealousy is not pretty, but rarely was it as ugly as the hostility that developed between a certain clique in the faculty and the athletic department. It culminated in 1961, when Ohio State handily won the Big Ten, but the faculty council voted to deny Ohio State's participation in the Rose Bowl. Woody would call the team the Forgotten Champions. He agitated his critics with vintage Woody Hayes.
You know, the older I get, and I shouldn't say this because it'll always be misconstrued, but the older I get, the less I care about what they say. I'm sorry, I have to level with Woody Hayes, but I don't have to level with them. And as long as I feel I'm treating these youngsters right, and I'm trying honestly to help them get an education, why, I'm not much I don't care much what they say, because I'll step into their classroom and do a better job there than they'll ever do on a football field.
Probably Woody Hayes' greatest asset was his ability to recruit players, and he recruited some great ones. 56 became All-Americans, and he coached 3 Heisman Trophy winners. Among the best was Archie Griffin. He invoked the image of his father as a guide. When asked who had the most influence on his life,
My dad. No doubt about it. He was a great man. And you know who else says that same thing? Archie Griffin. His dad has had more effect on him than anybody else. But my dad was a great educator. He made you do it. He was very disappointed if you didn't do it. And you could learn from him. Gee whiz, he seemed to know everything. That's terrible to brag about your dad that way, but it's true. He was just that good. And my mother was right behind him and helping him every way she could.
Else until you've learned to respect yourself. The 2 things that are always in a good home is, number 1, the kid is wanted. He knows that long before he can toddle. Number 2, there's discipline in that home, and discipline always implies disciples. He believes in those who took care of him and started to guide him. Those 2 things are always there, and I look for them. Now, not often, but sometimes we ran onto this youngster from this bad home or no home at all. He didn't get to choose that home, and we must be aware of that.
Certain rules that you just do not break. But when you live within those rules, it gives you a greater strength. And I like to feel that man upstairs is sort of cheering for you when you live right.
When I heard that he had died, I just decided to come out. I don't go to many things like this, but with Woody, he's a very special person.
Good afternoon. I'm Roy Briscoe along with Dave Kaler. We're here at First Community Church in Marble Cliff, Ohio, where memorial services for Coach Woody Hayes are about to begin.
taking part in that service today will be the senior minister here at First Community, the Reverend Barry L. Johnson, as well as the pastor emeritus here, Arthur Sanders. Also, the president of Ohio State University, Edward Jennings, is expected to make some remarks. The featured speaker today, in honor of Wayne Woodrow Hayes, will be a former president of the United States, Richard M. Nixon.
The crowd actually started lining up outside the church around 1:30 this afternoon. The doors weren't open, however, until 2:30, and the church is absolutely filled to capacity. The church holds 1,400 people, and all 1,400 seats are occupied at this moment.
The configuration here at First Community, Roy, is one of a cross, and at the wings of the cross, which go to the sides of the front of the church, are filled with primarily former OSU football players and coaches. And let me tell you, there are hundreds of them here today, people that probably have hundreds of Woody stories to tell as well.
And I know that you met many of them that you were in school with.
Quite a few of them have come back from the mid-'60s, from 62 through 67.
And now I think the services are about to begin.
Steve and Kathy and all of Woody's family, we welcome you to this very special occasion when we honor this uncommon man.
Special memories which gathered about his life, and there are so many of them. We thank you for his dedication to that in which he believed.